I want to know what Claude actually designs on its own, so I'm going to give it a brief. Let's see what happens, and I'll give you my honest take on it. Hello, I'm Silu, product designer based in New York City. I currently work at Lose It, a calorie tracking health app used by millions of people around the world. I've also worked on Challenges, a fitness app made for Apple. I did my master's in human-computer interaction, and I also used to run a tour company in Paris where I curated travel experiences where you get to see non-touristic side of Paris. And I've shipped products and startups. Basically, I've been around, and I learned design the traditional way. So welcome to part 1 of my series where I test AI design tools. I'm going to design the same app in every tool, the same brief, same constraints, and I'll give you my honest take on it. The app I'm designing is a gamified to-do list, and I think this will be a good stress test for AI. So in this app, the users are going to input to the AI whatever tasks they're working on, the projects that they're working on, and the AI is going to turn them into levels and various tasks so that when users complete those levels, those tasks, they're going to get reward at the end. The core problem it solves is not task management. The user is not lazy, they're just overwhelmed. And the design has to make starting feel safe and light. I've set 3 constraints here. The first one is that experience has to feel calm. The gamification has to be rewarding. And every design decision has to reduce the cognitive load, not add to it. So I've sent the prompt, and Claude came back with a whole set of clarifying questions. I really love this, and honestly, it's a really good sign. These are the questions a designer would actually ask before touching anything in terms of visual direction, interaction model, platform, fidelity, and all those sorts of questions. But there was one question that made me pause a little, because in the prompt, I asked Claude to solve the problem of the reward system. How could the reward of completing those tasks and checking off in the app could feel rewarding enough, engaging enough for the user to get some motivation and come back, do the task and come back for that reward? So that was literally in the problem statement. But the thing is, it then turned around and asked me what the reward should look like. So for that, I responded, decide for me, because that's the point. If I already had the answer, I wouldn't have asked. That's the problem I gave Claude to solve it. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, here it is. And it actually looks good. At a high level, it understood the brief. The visual direction is calm. The companion is there that I asked for. And I also asked for the core task of it being to break down the task. That is what I asked for in this prompt, and it did do that. But let me just give you my top 3 wins from this process and top 3 pushbacks. Win number 1, the onboarding copy. The input screen asks what's weighing on you, and that is intentional design. It isn't saying add a task, add a project, or add a to-do list, which means that it acknowledges the user's emotional state of being where they're overwhelmed with having to do so much, with having so much in their plate. So it has acknowledged the user problem that I was mentioning in the prompt. And I think that's a great win. It directly reduces the activation cost, again, which was the core problem that I asked it to solve, which I was saying that we need to solve, basically. And it got that right. And I like that. Win number 2. In the prompt, I prompted that the visual language must be something calm, soothing, so that there is no feelings of overwhelmness, so that the user feels like all of their task is manageable, it's doable. And it did give me that visual aesthetic of a very soft and calm feeling, and it incorporated the gamification elements that I asked for. So I think that is a great win. Win number 3 is the companion character. So in the prompt, I did ask that there is going to be a sort of character in the app that's going to guide users through their whole journey of completing all of these tasks or completing their projects. And it created this character called Pip the Crane, which I assume is going to react contextually, and it's going to have different expressions at different moments in the flow. And I think that's a great emotional design working very well. It builds a sort of relationship between the user and the product through feedback, not just visuals. And I think that's great. And here are my top 3 pushbacks. So pushback number 1, the reward system. So I actually specifically asked Claude to solve this reward system problem. I asked it, how would it make checking off a task feel genuinely rewarding? How could it not be, just a general to-do list app? How can this feel more engaging? And this is what it came back with, was to plant a tree. So I assume here, once you complete all of your tasks and you check it off, you complete all of those levels, then you'll get to plant a real tree, which is a great initiative. I really like this idea. There isn't actually an app that does this. It's called Forest. It's a productivity app where you focus for a certain time, and while you're in your focus zone, you're actually growing a tree. So they have this whole thing around it. It's really cool. And coming back to this, what I question is it exciting enough to make someone want to come back every day? Does planting a tree motivate someone who's trying to finish a thesis chapter at midnight? And I don't think we can answer that without a user research. This needs a stronger, more validated answer that Claude hasn't dived deep into. So pushback number 2 is also around the rewards page. So over here, it's showing me 3 or even 4 things at once if we count the character and this whole celebration as well. It's showing me the points earned, the time it took, the time I invested, and a metaphorical weight I lifted off of my shoulders for completing these tasks and leveling up. So all 3 stat at once, the points, time, and that weight lifting off, all at that emotional peak of completing a task. I feel like that moment should feel lighter and more celebration and not like a dashboard. So over here, I feel like there's a lot to look at and a lot of numbers to look at, basically. And in the prompt, I did ask that it should feel like there is like zero cognitive overload. And I feel like this screen is working against that. So pushback number 3, that is around the core task of actually telling the AI like what your task is or your project is that you're working on, that it's going to turn down into levels. And on this page, the mood selector on this input screen that says heavy, foggy, urgent, I actually didn't ask for this. And while the intention is good, asking an overwhelmed user to categorize their emotional state before they even get started kind of adds a decision where maybe there shouldn't be one. Is this really required? That's a question. Is it adding friction at the wrong moments? So I think this is my 3rd pushback. Okay, so now I want to push this a little bit further. I'm going to do a reiteration inside Claude, and the specific thing I want to tackle is this core task loop, the moment where the user inputs their project or like whatever the to-do task is, and the AI breaks it down into levels. And right now, the flow is you tell it what you're working on, it analyzes it, and it comes back with a breakdown of those tasks. And that's great and all, but my concern is it's very much, AI deciding and user just accepting it. And for this, I think that's the wrong power dynamics. So I want to add a layer of user control over here, let them edit the levels, remove what doesn't fit them, and add something specific if they need to, and reorder it if they want to. Just give them the ability to make it theirs before they can commit to it. So why? The reason is when people feel in control of their experience, even in like tiniest ways, they're more likely to trust it, engage with it, and come back to it. And if the AI hands you a breakdown and you have no say in it, you're just a passive recipient. But if you can tweak it, then you become really invested in it. And there's also a personalization argument. AI will make assumptions based on the prompt, but every user's context is a little bit different. So giving users ability to edit means the breakdown actually fits their own reality and not just the AI's interpretation of it. So let's go back to Claude and let's reiterate on it. So I've given it a prompt to just work on these two screens where I've asked it to give the users ability to add a new level manually, remove a level, and be able to reorder those levels by dragging. And I've asked it to keep it lightweight and not a full editing mode, just inline controls. So all of those general stuff. And I've asked it to update the screens for only 2 and 3, which is this and this. And let's see what it does. Okay, that was super fast. It made the changes really quick. The drag to reorder is looking very good, clean and nice. The edit stage looks clean as well, very lightweight. And at a high level view, this is looking good. But now let's think critically about the edge cases and about all the details. Okay, so the first thing here is the problem with the long list. Right now, this works fine if there's only like 5 to 7 levels. But what happens if there's like 15 to 20 levels? Users are scrolling up and down, they're losing their place, trying to remember how they reorder or edited. And that's adding a lot of cognitive load, which is what we're trying to eliminate here. So the question I'm asking is, should the list be collapsible into sections, maybe in an accordion style, so that users see only what's relevant at a given moment? Or there is a smarter solution, like capping the number of levels that AI generates and asking the user if they want to go deeper. So both have actually valid design directions, but right now this screen has no answer for scale, and that's creating a gap. Second is the drag state to reorder the list. And it has added this overlay, which I really like. It really gives the element that you're trying to reorder a visual weight that makes it clear of what's in motion, and it differentiates it from other static elements. And that's very good use of visual feedback to support the interaction model, and I would keep this design. And the third one, we have this button here. I know we can't see it, but I'm sure this is the add new level button that is just hidden behind this main one. And right now, this is sitting at the bottom of the list, which works well if there's always just 5 to 7 items, and this add level button is always going to be visible in the screen, no matter which size of screen it is. But on a long list, the user would actually have to scroll all the way to the end every time they want to add something new. And that's a discoverability problem, and it breaks the flow. A better solution here is adding a floating action button that stays anchored to the screen regardless of the scroll position, and it's always reachable, ergonomic, and it doesn't compete with the list content. That's a standard pattern for a reason. It solves exactly this problem. So Claude actually got the features very right at a conceptual level, and the designs are also looking quite nice to some extent. But the thing is, we still have so many questions to answer around what happens when things get messy. And those are important questions. Okay, so what next? So at this point, I could keep on going and reiterate on maybe individual elements, try out different versions, explore more direction. And I think that would be worth spending your tokens on, because every iteration gets you closer to something refined. But here's where I'm going to stop and be honest about what AI can and can't solve. The reward system. I asked Claude to solve it and it gave me an answer, but I don't actually know if the answer is right. It doesn't feel right. And no matter how many iterations I do it here, I still won't know, because it's not about design, but now it's more about the core problem that we're trying to solve. It's more about the user research problem. Do users actually care about planting a tree? Does that motivate the specific person who's overwhelmed with a thesis deadline? I don't know. And neither does Claude. So my next step for this isn't more iterations in Claude, it's user research targeted at that exact user this app is built for. So I need to understand what reward actually means to them before I design for it. And here's where the process comes full circle. So I'll use Claude to build out a working prototype from what we have and use that as the research artifact and something I can actually put in front of the users and get real feedback and then come back again to design the right solution. And that's how I would use AI in real product process, not as the answer, but as the accelerator. And something else I also want to be clear about is I would not ship this design as it is. It's not even close to a finished design. There's still a lot of work to do. And this character that I changed from an origami crane to just a general blob character, it actually looks nice, but it doesn't have a brand identity yet. It's a starting point. Maybe we're kind of close, but it's not yet a finished direction. The colors are soft, which is nice, but maybe it's too soft. Does it feel engaging enough? Does it have enough personality to make someone want to come back every day? And that's exactly the kind of question that needs a designer's eye and not another prompt. So after doing, reiterations inside Claude and getting more, a couple of directions from it, and then running user research around the core issue, then after that, the next step would be for me to get on a focused iterative session where I take control, where I get into each element myself. I test out different visual directions, different UX and UIs, pushing the brand identity into the product, making deliberate decisions about every component, every interaction. And honestly, that's where the real design work happens, because when you go deep into each element, you actually start seeing things that you didn't see at that high level, and you get more ideas, you understand the problem even more, you make connections, and that focused attention is where the design actually becomes something. So now here's the thing about AI. I'm not someone who says don't use AI. I think it's a very powerful tool, and I think it's really exciting to use this tool. I would really advocate for it, but it also well did, if I had done that myself, it would have taken me a couple of days, but I got that done in just like 15 to 30 minutes. And that saved me massive amount of time. But the final designs are going to be human touched, human curated, designed for humans. Because humans are complex, our motivations, our emotions, our context, they're shifting all the time. And as a human designer, we bring something that AI fundamentally cannot: an emotional intelligence, lived experiences, and actual contextual knowledge. AI can generate amazing, cool looking designs, but it's the designer who's actually responsible. If something goes wrong, you're the one who actually has to speak out. You're the one who's actually responsible, not Claude. So accountability is exactly what keeps the standards high. And that's where I land on this, not AI versus designers, AI as a starting point, AI as an accelerator, AI as your personal assistant that you never had before, and designers as the ones who make it right, who take the responsibility, who actually own the designs. And that's it for part one. If you found this useful, do like and share your thoughts in the comments, and share it with someone who's trying to figure out where AI actually fits in their design process. Subscribe if you want to see part two, where I test a different tool on the exact same brief, same app, same constraint, same standard. And I'll see you there.